The damning reports which are coming out of Parliament's inquiry into the escape of Thabo Bester from the Mangaung Correctional Central last year. A security company G4S is currently appearing before the Justice and Correctional Services Portfolio Committee.
Yeah, MPs having to hear about an unauthorised vehicle that was somehow able to get into the prison just days before Bester is said to have escaped. The company running operations at the prison only found out about this in February of this year. So, Senior Reporter Aviwe Mtila, let's go once again back to you. We're waiting for these proceedings for later this morning. And I mean, that I think has got to be one of the first questions being asked is, despite all the information now coming out, whether it's CCTV footage, whether it's unauthorized visitors, this car, etc., is how G4S only found out now in February, almost a year after it happened.
You know, Gareth, that would talk to the point that they were working in silos, as they were in fact supposed to be working together according to the prescripts of the Correctional Services Act. In opening that inquest that looks into the death of an inmate, especially an unnatural death, it has to be looked in thorough, and of course all those law enforcement agency, whether it be the SAPS, whether it be the Judicial Inspectorate of Correctional Services, or even Pathology Services and Mangaung Correctional Central itself, they all have to be working together in finding out the circumstances around that. Clearly, the indication that we got even from that briefing yesterday is that this wasn't happening. In fact, if you were to actually listen to the briefing yesterday, you got an idea that this was all actually perfectly planned to the T, from the minute that, of course, he applied to be moved to a single cell on the 15th of April to when it happened on the 30th of April, of course, giving that reasoning that he was afraid inside. He was being intimidated by the 26 gang after he had failed to pay the protection fee, allegedly. So he was allowed to move then to that cell 35, a coincidental cell, a very cell that's in the spotlight basically now. Of course, it was perfectly situated out of those 70 cells, single cells in Mangaung. It's the one that's near the emergency exit. It's also the one cell, in fact, where CCTV footage can't reach. Never mind that on the evening of his escape, on the 2nd of May, of course, the CCTV footage in that particular area was actually off. It was switched off from around 1938 to the early hours of the 3rd of May. At around 4 a.m. is when it was back on. Of course, that's when the official account of G4S suggests that at around 4 a.m. is when the fire broke out. But the parliamentarians that were inside that correctional services, that justice committee, begged to differ. They suggested that that fire, upon their site inspection that happened just a week ago, that fire broke out at around 2:30 a.m. and in fact was reported at around 2:59. So already we're getting different times which G4S can't actually explain properly. But not only that, of course, I mentioned the issue of the CCTV footage and the cameras not working, but also we got an insight from the company that does the IT of Mangaung, that's Integriton, that they also might have involvement, a hand in this. Of course, one of their employees is one of those that have since handed themselves over to the police, adding to the number of arrests, of course, that have happened now. We do understand on the 31st of March, he was called in for a polygraph test. It is believed he's the one that actually switched off the CCTV footage after he failed that polygraph test. In fact, we have the name. It's just that he hasn't appeared officially before court, when he's expected to appear, in fact, today. It's one of those conversations that I had myself, Gareth, with General Fani Masamula, the police commissioner, just after the sitting yesterday in the Justice Committee meeting. It was around 6 o'clock where he told me that it's not only him. I remember earlier on you were asking who the gentleman that was caught with that Porsche that is believed to belong to Dr. Nandipha Makudumana. It is his bodyguard, according to the General Fani Masamula. He's also been taken in for questioning, so adding to the number of people, in fact, that have now been arrested around this. We're expecting even more people, in fact, but let's just take a listen to General Fani Masamula and the conversation that we had right after the Justice Committee briefing yesterday.
Up to so far, the arrests are 4. You would remember is the alleged father to Nandipha, is the former corrections or G4S official from Bloemfontein, is also this employee of the IT company that we are talking about, and there is also somebody that still needs to appear in court, which is alleged to be the security guard to Nandipha, which we found him in possession of a Porsche vehicle allegedly belonging to Nandipa. So it's 4 up to so far.
Aviwe, let's take a closer look now at the vehicle that entered, into the prison facility. Whose vehicle is that? Why was the vehicle allowed inside?
Well, G4S will tell you that according to their records, there were no vehicles that entered there unauthorized. But it has come out, of course, something that they now acknowledge, and they're saying that they had receipt of that only on the 28th of February this year. So there was a vehicle before this elaborate escape by Thabo Bester that went in the facility itself, and then 8 minutes later it went out. Of course, it was unauthorized. It's not in the books or any of that camera surveillance, but it is believed that this vehicle was carrying a box that was supposed to have a TV stand. But the members of parliament, parliamentarians that were in that G4S committee, well, the Justice Committee meeting yesterday, will tell you that in fact the contents that was inside the box that was accompanying this vehicle was the dead body that was later said to be Thabo Bester. Of course, we do know, even by the autopsy that was just released a day after the elaborate escape and the faked death, that the body that was found inside the cell was not Thabo Bester, because the height and the mass already indicate that it's not him. Also, the body that was found there was dead already. So it's believed that this unauthorized vehicle was carrying that dead body inside, which stayed about 8 minutes, and then the vehicle itself left. In fact, after G4S received this information on the 28th of February, it went on to conduct further investigations, and it has now suspended a further 7 of its employees. That's adding to the 3 that it initially suspended last year, going on to fire. One of them, of course, already arrested, which we do know was the supervisor on the night of Thabo Bester's elaborate escape.
The incident book, where it was recorded that the vehicle had entered and 8 minutes later had left the facility, suggests nothing untoward with that entry. So by any independent party looking at that log, they would not have detected anything untoward as far as that vehicle's entry and exit is concerned.
So your system is deficient, doesn't pick up, there's no checks and balances, doesn't pick up this kind of thing. You can go undetected for a year. There could have been many more such entries and exits, who would know? So clearly your system is not foolproof. Your staff didn't report it for some odd reason. How many people are on duty at the gate? 1.
I'll ask my colleagues to, I don't know what that answer is.
There was one on duty, Honourable Member, yes, correct.
And how did the vehicle get in without authorization?
The process will still reveal it, but currently I can confirm that we've got 7 people that's suspended pending this investigation.